From the banks of Dewey Lake, it's the Dewey Pod Monster.
Welcome back. My name is John, and this is the Dewey Pod Monster podcast. This is a weekly podcast, and it is about consumption. We are, of course, proud members of the You Run Podcast Network. You can find all of our old episodes, all of our upcoming episodes, and all of the other amazing shows on the You Run Podcast Network at yourunpodcast.com. With me this week is the host of the Dewey Pod Monster podcast, and he's going to say something Irish, I got a feeling. Sean, how are you doing today?
You made me look bad, and that's not good.
That's not the quote that I was going to pull, but I appreciate the effort nonetheless. Sean, as long as we're on the subject of effort, what have you been watching this week?
I've watched a few things. I finally got around to watching Weapons because everybody talks about how great Weapons are. Weapons are pretty cool, but I watched the movie Weapons from 2025. I will give you a very
You're better than me. I keep putting it off, so you're better than me.
You keep putting off Weapons? I will give my spoiler-free synopsis of what I'll just give the bare minimum, right? So
this could definitely be a revisited topic.
Yeah, probably. I mean, maybe you'll watch it someday, maybe you won't. It essentially centers around a teacher who she goes into class one day and there are no kids in the classroom except for one. And through investigation, they find that all the kids left the night before, left their houses. All the other kids in this class left their houses at 2:19 the morning before, the night before, and no one's found them. So the way the story's told is through different perspective of different characters. So they tell it from the teacher's point of view. They tell it from the kid's point of view. They tell it from one of the parents' point of view. They tell it from the administrator's point of view, and how all the stories intersect and kind of combine at one point to kind of further the story along. I thought it was a really interesting way to tell the story. I didn't go into it with any kind of preconceived notion. Like, I think we had talked about it briefly and we just knew that kids ran. That's like pretty much the only thing we knew about the movie. And
Lady in Red.
Yeah, I don't even know if I knew about that, but I would say, like, I told you, we talked about this off mic. And I think if I were to give this like the hot dog scale, this would be a half a hot dog. It wasn't bad. It was technically fine. All the acting was fine. All the set piece, the script, the story was fine. It just didn't blow me away, like, to give it a full hot dog. And it wasn't so bad that I would say, like, don't ever watch this. If it's something that's intriguing to you, I would go in without any kind of expectation or any hype surrounding it, which is what I would suggest in any movie that you go see. I would give it half a hot dog. That's what I'd say about Weapons. The other thing that I watched was a series on HBO, on Max, I guess is what it's called. It is Task, and it is a series with Mark Ruffalo. It's a 7-episode limited series created and written by the same creator and writer of Mayor of Easttown, which was a HBO Max show that aired in late 2021, I think, which I really enjoyed. So I enjoyed this one as well. Ruffalo plays an FBI agent who's leading a task force investigating robberies that were perpetrated by a group of guys in masks, and they break into drug houses and they steal money from a biker gang. And it's told it's told in two sides of the story. It's got the Mark Ruffalo side of the story, and then it's got one of the ringleader of the break-in crew. They tell via his story, his side, and it kind of combines and merges towards the end of the story, probably like the 4th or 5th episode. I really enjoyed that one. It's kind of a gritty crime drama, a gritty portrayal of crime and stuff. So I really enjoyed that one. If you're into that type of thing,
Is that based off a true story, and like kind of like what was that We Built the City was like loosely based off a true story, and they only did it for like 1 year?
I have no idea. Not that I know of, but maybe. And then the last thing I'll talk about real briefly is I watched this movie called Nights, and it's from 1993. It's got Kathy Long, which I think I looked at her IMDb. She doesn't have a lot of stuff on her profile, on her resume, but she was a kickboxer of some renown at some point. And it's got Chris Christopherson, Lance Henriksen, and it's directed by Albert Pune, who did the Cyborg movies, the Nemesis movies. I think he did the original Cyborg, which was like a big early vehicle for Jean-Claude Van Damme. It was a canon film. And this is basically about cyborgs who have taken over the world, like taken over the wasteland. It's not like it's not quite Terminator Wasteland. It's not like, not super tech or anything. It's the cyborgs are basically like they're robot ninjas essentially. And Henriksen walks around looking like a guy that has like this big car part like stuck to his arm. And that's like how he's a cyborg. And the cyborg's goal is to harvest blood from the remaining humans.
Picturing Lance Henriksen with like a 200-pound piece of like metal like duct tape to his arm while he is like 130 pounds.
I mean, it's not too far off. One of his arms is like this hook, like a claw game hook. And it's like on this big, it looks like a big motorcycle muffler or something. But the other one, so all the cyborgs, their whole goal is to harvest human blood, and that's how they like fuel themselves, and they're going to like repopulate themselves. And then Chris Christopherson is like the one good cyborg. He's actually like, they're not really cyborgs. They're totally like robots, but they just, for whatever reason, call them cyborgs. And he's the good cyborg. He's on the hunt to destroy Lance Henriksen and his kind of group of 19 or 20 other cyborgs. And Kathy Long plays a character named Nia, who Christopherson finds her in one of these camps, and she asks that he train her because, she had to run from Job, is Henriksen's name. She had to run from him and his crew when she was a little kid, and she wants to get revenge and wants Christopherson to teach her how to kill cyborgs, essentially. And a lot of the stunts, this is like an Albert Pune movie, so it's full of stunts, people doing flips, people getting like kicked off of cliffs, and the cyborgs can jump. They have super jumping ability and they can practically fly. It's all ridiculous. Chris Christopherson's like 65, 70 years old when this movie comes out, so I don't know. I mean,
Chris Christopherson has been 65, 70 for the last like 300 years.
20. So. And he there's like all these stunts, and Christopherson does none of them. It's a stand-in with like a bad wig. Henriksen is a stand-in with a bad wig.
Doesn't shock me.
Yeah, constantly. So it's really entertaining, really fun. A lot of fighting. Kathy Long does all her own stuff. At least it looks like it. And I don't know. It's one of those movies like Henriksen comes across for me like a actor who, regardless of what the material is, he just has fun doing whatever it is. He'll do anything. And he just seems to be having fun most of the time when he does it. This is one of those. This would be a full hot dog for me if I was like grading this. This was a lot of fun. It was kind of dumb. It ends on a cliffhanger. I was looking up to see like, oh, was there an intended sequel to this? Because it ends as if, there's totally going to be another movie. They're going to, do all this other stuff. And it looks like there was possibly a plan to do some kind of follow-up or some kind of sequel, but it just fell through. And I think Cannon didn't want to like invest the money because he was doing, I think Pune may have done Masters of the Universe, and he was supposed to be doing a Spider-Man movie
that went poorly
for Cannon.
That also went poorly.
I don't remember ever seeing that. I remember seeing like,
it never got finished because we talked about it because the guy who directed Friday the 13th 4 and Invasion USA was also tapped to direct that for a minute. Whatever's Zito.
Yeah. Zito. It was the Zito veto, the famous Zito veto. I guess they said like it fell through and they had all these toy deals lined up and they all fell through because they couldn't do the movie. So anyways, I digress. Interesting. Nights was very interesting. It's on YouTube, and there's like a couple short segments where the language for whatever reason goes into French. And I looked, and the couple places that I could find it playing both did that, which I thought was really weird. So I was able to just download a subtitle for the few, like, I don't know, 30 seconds or whatever for the pieces that didn't make any sense that were in French because I don't speak French. But yeah, Nights, out of all I love Task. Task was great, but I would say if you're looking for a shitty movie fix, look up Nights on YouTube. I mean, you can't have a better time. You can have a better time, but you probably wouldn't have a better time tonight with a movie that you're not expecting. So that's what I got a chance to watch. How about you, John?
Before we get it, do you think Canon might still be around if they ever got around to doing that Spider-Man movie? And I say that more because, like, okay, He-Man got like a little bit of a resurgence there, but I feel like that never really got outside like the hardcore He-Man nerd group, like in Kevin Smith. But Spider-Man had a pretty huge, like, I mean, you can make an argument they had a second and third coming where they like really got a lot of traction. You think if they had made that Spider-Man movie, that might have been enough to keep them afloat just off of Spider-Man nerds going back to find that over and over again, or just no, they were that fucked?
No, None of the technology was there for movies like that with all the stuff, all the really ambitious stuff they wanted to do. They just couldn't do it. I mean, Canon had, or De Laurentiis, I think it was De Laurentiis, it may have been Canon Group, or Golan Globus had Superman. They had the Superman license. They just couldn't do, it was the technology wasn't to the place where they could do things that people actually wanted to see in these movies. So I think it was just diminishing returns. And it really wasn't until like the early 2000s, 2010s, when technology was at a place where it was cost efficient for them to do any kind of special effects, to do anything like they could do in a comic book. I mean, you look at something like Fifth Element was so far ahead of its time, but that if you look at it now, it looks really dated. And I feel like if they would have tried to do it with superhero
That's
stuff,
just because Chris Tucker's in it. So
maybe, but I just feel like the technology wasn't there yet.
I don't know about you, but I would have loved to have seen a canon Spider-Man film. No matter what they did with it, I would have given my, $20 in 2025 money to go see that in a theater without too much question.
I think I would go back and watch it now, but I think at the time it would have made me really angry. And I'm not like that big of a Spider-Man guy or any of the superheroes really to die on that hill. I just think that when it would have come out, I would not have found the humor in it. Whereas you go back now, you watch like the Fantastic Four, the Roger Corman Fantastic Four shit, and it's funny because it's so ridiculous. But at the time, you're like, this is so ridiculous. If you're even like a moderate fan of anything that comes out and it feels like they feel like they're kind of pissing in your Wheaties, like making fun of you because you like the thing because it's so shitty. You start to get like automatic animosity towards it.
That's fair. You asked what I had been watching, so I'll kind of backtrack on one that you brought up. I believe it was last week. I started watching The Chair Company. I'm caught up to it. I'm 3 episodes in, so there's one that the one that aired last night. I haven't got to yet, but like you, it's full of Tim Robinson isms or whatever. Him kind of freaking out is in general the points where I find myself laughing at this show the most. I do like the show, but 3 episodes in, and I said this to you the other day when we were out drinking, that I kind of am starting to hit a point where every episode I think, I wonder if this is going anywhere. And you actually made the comment, I don't think it is. I don't think it's going to go anywhere at any point. And, after kind of sitting on that comment for, 2 days now, I kind of hope you're right. I hope this show goes on in perpetuity for like, maybe not 5 seasons, but like we got 3 seasons where it's just him being pissed off at this chair company and kind of dealing with what's essentially office life, like, and balancing that out. I might be more into that than if this actually like the mystery of what's going on with this chair company actually gets exposed. I kind of like the idea of it just being a pointless venture into nothingness, much like calling one of these companies where you could hear him call a, customer support line and talk to nothing. Just very comically entertaining and relatable in a enraging way. I don't know how long this season's supposed to run. I'm assuming since it's HBO, it's probably going to be like 10 episodes or something like that. But I'm totally on board for at least 6 more episodes at the rate it's going. Presumably a third of the way into the season. It's a vibrant, full hot dog right now for me, which probably doesn't surprise anyone who's listening to me over the course of time on this show. I found a little documentary on YouTube. It's only like 45 minutes long, which makes it a real nice thing to kind of clock in before doing something like this when you had a busy week. It's called Across America. Came out last year, and it's got Chad Caruso in it. And basically the concept is he's coming off, I'm assuming he's a pro skater because it doesn't seem like he has a fucking job because he's able to do this. But basically it sounds like he's coming off an injury, and I want to say it was like a knee or like some kind of lower body injury, like maybe an MCL, something like that, and decided he was going to ride his skateboard from California all the way to the East Coast. I want to say he went to Atlantic City or something. No, it wasn't that north. It was like Georgia or something like that. But basically from east to west with minimal going north in it, which is a lot of miles to cover on a skateboard. And quite frankly, like the documentary is not overly exciting. It's basically 45 minutes of him just skateboarding from the left side of the screen to the right side of your screen. What kind of makes it worth watching is the guy who's this Chad Caruso guy. He's actually pretty funny. Like they show him before he actually sets out on this journey, going to the doctor, and he's like, well, is this medically safe, or like, is there any reason you would tell me not to do this? And the doctor's like, well, I can think of two, and you're standing on them. He's saying real like shitty stuff like that, but that doesn't really turn him away. My favorite part of it is he's standing on the highway, pushing uphill with like semi trucks and like, oversized load, like trailers and whatnot going by him and stuff. He goes, I don't know. It's actually pretty hard to die as he's almost getting run off the road by these giant fucking trucks. Just his commentary when he does stop and have something to say. It's pretty innocent. It's almost kind of like vanilla, but it is pretty funny in like a very dry kind of sense of humor way. I wouldn't call it riveting, but for something you can find on YouTube for free and just kind of, it's very digestible. It's not going to take up like a whole ton of your time. I wasn't mad about that. That's probably a solid half hot dog if we're putting hot dogs on these.
That's not the one where the guy tries to learn a new trick, right? He's not learning a new trick in every state or something.
No.
Okay.
No.
I saw literally a different one that was kind of similar in that respect.
Yeah, no. They show him like eating shit a couple times, like before he starts going, like as he's training or whatever, saying he was working on some trick. And I thought they were gonna like where they were going was gonna be like, oh, he's trying this new trick, and the day before he leaves, blows out his ass bone or something, can't skate, for the next however many months. But that's not what happened with it, for better or worse.
I saw an interesting documentary that was a woman who rode a road bike from bicycle from New York City to LA. And it was like a 2-hour thing on YouTube. And it was interesting. It was all kind of filmed from a GoPro, and it wasn't like the best looking thing, but it was interesting just kind of following her journey. And it ends when she actually gets to the ocean, like in San Diego or somewhere. So it would have been cool to have a little bit more of a follow up on that, but it was cool to see all the places she would like stop and talk when she got in a hotel for the night and stuff like that to kind of reflect on the day.
You get that in this, and I would assume the majority of like his stuff is just some kind of GoPro or something like it's something light and portable, obviously. But he does have like a small crew that will meet up with basically I think they had him like every couple days or so, make sure he's not dead, give him water, shit like that. And obviously he's got to find that along the way too. But the quality on this looks about as good as anything you're going to see on a skate video on YouTube. I don't want to go as far to say like it's a full professional shoot because it's probably just a hair under that, but it doesn't look any worse than, I don't know. It looks a hell of a lot better than what we're going to talk about in a couple minutes here. I can tell you that. So don't want to set the bar too high. I don't know. I was entertained by it. I don't know if the guy's necessarily relatable, if that's the right word, but he's likable, and he's likable enough that if you want to spend 45 minutes with him skating around, going in and out of shitty hotels and doing all that, like basically living out of a backpack for, I think he said he was doing it for something like 17 days or something. I forget the exact time frame on it. It probably says in here somewhere, but again, it's not a bad watch for something moderately mindless and kind of just easy to put on and pay moderate attention to. I was pretty content. The last thing I'll bring up this week, and I'm be interested if you haven't seen this yet. I'm sure you will. You might. It just popped up on Netflix, so you might not have even known it's on there yet. But it's another one of their documentaries, and it's called "Who Killed the Montreal Expos." So it's all about the death of just that, the baseball team in Montreal. It just popped up for me last week, so give or take a week as far as when it actually ended up on there. But you're more of an Expos fan than I am, or at least I've seen you wear a hat or two of theirs. I can't say that I've done that. I will say the whole overarching arc of this story, and I'll backtrack a little bit in a moment here. It's just really fucking sad that this city had this fairly renowned baseball team. And I mean, the Expos, I never really thought of the Expos as like the Red Sox or the Yankees or one of those teams that's like the top tier team. But I also never put them in the same boat as like the Diamondbacks or the Marlins or one of those teams that are like a footnote in the league, or at least I think of them as that. They were always kind of that like second tier team, or I guess you could put it that way. And maybe it's just a victim of the time, but it just seems like the whole city was utterly incompetent when it comes to figuring out how to support this fucking team. And everything from stupid owner after stupid owner of making dumb decisions. The 94 lockout sounds like it didn't help them at all because, well, you would probably know this. It sounds like they were on track to be the favorite to win the World Series, and instead they locked out and basically blew up the team or blew up parts of the team. Yeah, it's fucking sad. Like, I don't have any huge like love for the Expos. Like, I remember them, but not to that extent. And just seeing a city that seems like they should have had a decent thing going. Like, I've certainly been to stadiums that have had worse teams for longer periods of time than the Expos were around that still manage, and Pittsburgh sticks out, that still managed to keep their team and presumably keep them profitable. And they just never got their shit together. On a side note, the original Montreal Expos jersey, like the first like white jersey with just the logo on the chest, really fucking cool. Like a really good looking jersey. And the blue one they had for a little bit was really fucking cool too. But I digress. That's just because I tend to think old, sports uniforms look better than the majority of new ones. But maybe that's just me. Were you even aware this one was out or coming out or anything like that?
Yeah, I'd heard it had come out. I know some of the ins and outs of what they cover in the doc. And I think, is it Jeffrey Lurie who was one of the owners and he wanted to trade so he could, he's now the owner. He was the owner.
He's the owner of the Marlins now.
Yeah. So, or at least he's in that, he was in that ownership group. Right. Yeah. At one point he was. Yeah. So I know that. Yeah, I know some of the story behind it. I knew it came out. I just haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet. Is that like a multi-part or is it just a one-shot deal?
I think it's 2 episodes, if I remember right. It's only like, it's somewhere between an hour and a half and 2 hours. It's not super long. I got through it in one sitting pretty comfortably. But I want to say I think it's 2 episodes and not one long one.
Mm-hmm.
But it pretty much plays like intro to the team up to the lockout and then just crash into a wall after that is essentially what it is. Because it seems like, at least judging from this, and again, I'm not fact checking this documentary. I kind of come to terms with the fact that a lot of things on Netflix are either, whether they're fictionalized or just sensationalized for a Netflix audience, I don't know. So I don't know where for this particular story, like where, if any, bullshit is in the story that they're telling. But yeah, it definitely seems like trajectory up, 1994, crash, and just never really recovered.
Right.
At least that's
into the ground.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Having not lost a team other than a WNBA team and like minor league teams, it seems like, you hear about it, like people say like, oh, it leaves a scar on the city and all this stuff. And they have a lot of like old timer fans or like associates that kind of have like lifelong memories with the team, and you could tell like they were talking about them like in regard to being like Blue Jays fans and stuff like that. They're like, yeah, we root for them, but fuck them at the same time, which I'm sure is like a city by city thing.
Montreal versus Toronto. Yeah,
Toronto.
Probably.
Right. You know me, I like a good sports doc as much as pretty much any other genre out there. So it was, when it popped up on the like, hey, you should watch this bullshit, it was pretty much like, okay, well, let me get some shit together and I'm going to watch it today type thing. So it's borderline appointment watching, but definitely worth giving a try. But that's all I got for this week. So I think it's time to kind of pack that shit up, take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the world's first and apparently one of 2 Irish Kung Fu movies. This one's called Fatal Deviation. And, well, we're going to talk about it for better or worse. We'll be right back. Hey, John here. We recently conducted a survey of 500 senior citizens, and 499 of them said they would rather listen to any podcast other than the Dewey Pod Monster. We're here today to talk to the one. This is Crazy Balls Johnson. Crazy Balls, what do you like about the Dewey Pod Monster podcast?
I love that you guys are always balls to the wall, living life on the edge, talking about bullshit movies that everyone else hates. But I eat that shit up like a pig in slop.
You heard it here, folks. You can eat that shit up like a pig in slop, too, along with all the other fine podcasts at yourunpodcast.com. So, Fatal Deviation. We're going to start with a third-party review, and this time our third-party review does not come from Rotten Tomatoes because no one reviewed this movie on Rotten Tomatoes. That's how good this movie is. So, we're over on Letterboxd, and Jack Ho says, Fatal Deviation, 1998. You killed my son, now I'm going to kill you just like I killed your father. You killed my father, now I'm going to kill you just like I killed your son. That right there is the greatest exchange in action movie history, and you're going to have a real tough time changing my mind. 4 out of 5 stars. Thank you, Jack Ho. That might be the most description we can get for this entire movie, but I'm going to hand it over to Sean. And Sean, can you top Jack Ho and give us a better description of what Fatal Deviation is about?
I mean, that's a tall order, but I'll do my best. So I'm going to go over to IMDb. I'm going to look up the words Fatal Deviation. That brings up a movie that is really unrated from 1998. It says it's an hour and 30 minutes, but the print or the copy I saw on YouTube is an hour and 16 minutes. So I don't think we lost 14 minutes, but maybe we did. We're going to start with the storyline of the plot after we say that this gets a 4.8 out of 10 with 650 ratings total. The storyline of the plot, we're never quite sure which is which, but they wouldn't put whatever it is on the top if it wasn't supposed to be read first. And it says, a classic good versus evil action flick, mixed with kicks, guns, motorcycles, and a hot babe. And if we scroll on down to the other thing, which is labeled storyline, which would make it the storyline, this comes care of Fighting Spirit magazine, and it says, a young Kempo karate martial artist returns home after 10 years in reform school on a quest to find out who murdered his father. He's befriended by an old monk and a local Irish beauty. His search takes him to the prestigious Beltane martial arts tournament. Together with his past, the good guy is drawn into conflict with the local drug baron and his son, and the conflict makes the young man face his father's death in a way he could never have imagined. The action is explosive, the fight scenes are dynamic, and the story will tug at your heartstrings.
Yeah, that's what it does. This is probably the stupidest question I've ever asked you, Sean, but Sean, who's in this movie that we care about?
Well, probably nobody, but we do have James P. Bennett, who actually wrote and directed parts of this movie. He is Jimmy Bennett.
The hell you say?
Yeah, it's crazy. He played Nunchuck Man in Kickboxer Retaliation. He played Doctor in Silent Screenplay and Paramedic in Silent Screenplay 2. And we have Mikey Graham, who plays Mikey. I think Mikey Graham is probably best known as a member of the Irish boy band Boyzone. That's really the only thing I think he's ever done. I don't know how he got involved in this movie because I think Boyzone was somewhat popular. I think they had a lot of songs and stuff. No idea.
My best guess is that he probably
must have
knows someone from this town because I think they got like the whole town to pull together to like let them do this bullshit for this fucking movie.
Yeah, of course.
But that's okay. I'll take a crack at Cliff Notes if you want. They're not very good for this one, though. I should let you know ahead.
Give it a rip.
So my plot line for this is an Irish JCVD fan film / workout montage. That's the best I could give it.
Yeah, I think the storyline or whatever that Fighting Spirit magazine gave it was pretty spot on as far as like what the story is about. Essentially, Jimmy Bennett's on a quest to find his father. He says he's on a quest to find his father, but I think he knows that he's already dead. And he moves into the ramshackle.
I mean, they show that he's in the room when he gets killed. So, I mean, I assume he knows.
Spoiler, John. He busts into this ramshackle house that he grew up that he's visited by gangsters, a thick blonde hussy, and mysterious monks, and that's when the true training begins. That's my synopsis.
Yeah, I mean, you got it better than I did, I think. Let's start with some of the positives, because there's a lot of positives to talk about in this movie, because it's one of a kind.
It is.
Is there anything you like in Fatal Deviation?
I mean, I'll start. We can go back and forth. I'll start with at the beginning.
I think that's the best way to go.
The very beginning of the movie. This room is a dorm that he leaves, wherever it is, like they say a reform school, or I don't know. There's no context. He's just in this room with all these pictures, framed pictures all over the wall, and there are several that are JCVD pictures from different movies. You know, he's from Hard Target with the mullet. He's in, they have the one from Bloodsport. They've got like all these things. I didn't pause it, and the resolution, honestly, is so just piss poor that
Kick Fighter shows up a lot.
You couldn't
Yeah.
tell what would be in the pictures unless it was just like a close up on some of them, and you get a good glimpse of some of the JCVD stuff. And I mean, just right off the bat, there's a scene. Jimmy's walking forever, bow-legged, walking all the way to this ramshackle, whatever cottage or safe house or whatever. All the shit's all knocked over, busted. He like sets it all up. He goes to the grocery store because he has to get his supplies or whatever. And these local like tough guys are playing jackass in the grocery store. They're like pushing each other around in the carts and eating shit off the shelves and whatever else. And Jimmy arrives to the scene, and there's a stack of paper towels, like a big tower of them. The girl, the main love interest, who I think, what is her name? It's like Nicole. Nicole has just set up this huge stack of all these paper towels, and the guys are like, they're kind of in her face and like taunting her or whatever, and they're going to act like they're going to knock the thing over. And Jimmy goes and kicks the guy in the nuts and kicks him over and knocks the whole fucking thing down. It's like, I think that's what she was trying for them not to do, because she says she spent like all day setting this thing up.
I will say, in regard to that scene, when that started happening, I was expecting this movie to go some like instant death route and just have him like really overly sexually like harass this chick or be something real. These guys that are like tormenting this local grocery store, it's not like the smallest of like harassing the local grocery store scale. Like they're like, oh, they drank some water in the store. I think one of them eats an apple or like a piece of fruit or something. Like, hey, you better pay for that. Like that's kind of like, if anything, our Irish JCVD does more damage in the store than the two guys that are in there, quote unquote, fucking up the store. So I think that's kind of entertaining that. And I'm kind of glad that in this movie, they don't force this woman to have sex with anyone until later. And even then it's pretty tame. So I'll give the movie credit for that.
These guys are basically doing the adult version of I'm stealing your nose, like from all the people in the store. More or less. They're like just being dickheads. I mean, they're not doing anything. They're not hurting anybody. So it's right. Yeah, it's funny that Jimmy goes in there and he takes it to the next level to like kick this guy in the nuts and does the fake like split kick thing to the other guy, and he runs off. He's like, ooh, just runs off out of the store, and they're whatever.
I think my favorite part of this whole movie, and maybe this is a spoiler, I don't really care. I guess he's like the crime boss of the movie, some old guy who has a really good what the fuck line later. They do a very Frank Costanza-esque flashback when they show him going back to interact with main dude's dad. And they're like 20 years earlier, except it's the same 70-year-old guy without any change in makeup, any change in look. It's just basically like I don't know what this guy's name is because
the names
we'll get to why
on
later.
IMDb are fucked.
Any of them. Yeah, and there's no way to like cross-reference them because there's no pictures or anything. So whatever this guy's Don Potato or whatever his name is, he more or less like his effect to be 20 is he might as well have a shirt that says Don Potato minus 20 years. Might as well be all he's doing. And that I find to be like, I thought it was really funny when they did in Seinfeld when they had Frank do a flashback to the Korean War, like 40 years earlier, but they had the same actor at the same age playing it. This is a different kind of funny because with Seinfeld, it feels like a choice to do that. With this, it doesn't feel like a choice. You just kind of, honestly, you don't even think about it until you realize like probably 30 seconds into this flashback, you're like, hey, wait a minute.
You just got to roll with it.
They did nothing to, you just kind of got to roll with it. So I think that's pretty entertaining. The other thing, and then I'll kick it back to you, no pun intended. A lot of I mentioned that there's a lot of montages in this movie, and you kind of cut into one that I was going to say, like this movie opens with him, sitting in his trash can, looking at his JCVD pictures, and then immediately cuts to a montage of him walking for quite a while. So with some of the worst like music.
Yeah.
And
yes,
this movie, you've mentioned this a bunch of times, like since I said it, I don't even remember when. We heard that a movie is supposed to be about an hour and a half long. So we're just going to fill it with all this other shit. And this movie is the epitome of, we heard a movie is supposed to be about an hour and a half long. So let's just film a bunch of shit to still come woefully like far away from hitting. Like there's still like 15 minutes away from thankfully 15 minutes away from hitting the hour and 30-minute mark. But the amount of filler that is just put in with all these pointless montages and bad music, it's really bad, but it's also really laughable because it's the kind of joke that it's like you see it the first time and you laugh. Then you see it the second time, you're like, really, we're doing this again? Then the third time, you're annoyed by it. And then by like the fourth time, you're almost laughing at it. And they still do it probably 2 or 3 more times in this hour and 15-minute movie. The use of montages as a storytelling device, ? Kind of funny.
I think it's hard to get mad at a movie like this because it is so... It's clearly like a labor of love. It's clearly like a project that they were just trying to do their best at. But I got... The music, like some of the music is actually like lyric based music, and some of it sounds like they licensed it from like a porno or something. It's so like laughably MIDI keyboard, like 80s Casio. Not even, this is made in the 90s, but it's like 80s Casio keyboard, and they just hit play and it's like do 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 do. You know, it reminds you of like a River City Ransom on an NES or something. Just this music that plays in the background. There's a specific scene where, so Jimmy he's a Kempo martial artist, and this monk just shows up out of nowhere after seeing him take care of these local toughs. And
I wrote down Discount Gandalf.
He decides like that he's going to reach out to Jimmy because he's like, hey, yeah, I knew your father. He was my first. He's like, how do you know my father? And he just keeps dragging it out. Like he won't tell him how he knows his dad. And the monk says, if you come and train with me, I'll tell you tomorrow. So he goes and he's like walking through the woods, which is a theme, you know, montage of him walking through the woods. And he gets to the place where the monk is. And the monk, like, he's looking around for him. He can't see him at first. Then he stands up and he's like, hey, thanks for coming out. Training starts tomorrow. Like, you just had me meet you in the middle of in the middle of the woods midday. And then you're not even going to do anything. And he tries to, you know, how do you know my father? How do you know my father? That's like, the monk just tells him, expect the unexpected, you know, come back tomorrow. I'm not going to tell you shit. And then later on, you find out that he knows Jimmy's father because it was Jimmy's father was his first student. But you find that out because all the flashback stuff already kind of tells you some of the thing. It's just really the way the flashbacks are told. He'll just, you know, he'll close his eyes or he'll be straining to do some you know, whatever. He's like doing some exercise and it'll just be this flashback of his dad like kneeling or whatever. I don't know. It's lots of really just nonsense shit goes on in this movie, and I'm here for it. There's a scene. I'll get to one more scene. I'll let you take over. And there's this whole motorcycle.
I got one more big like that I want to say before we switch gears.
Yeah, I do too. I've got several things still. So there's a motorcycle versus car confrontation that happens. Like, Jimmy's out with Nicola. They're out in the woods. They're having a picnic or whatever. And all of a sudden you hear these motorcycles, these dirt bikes, and somehow he knows they're coming for him.
And they're dickheads.
Yeah. Dirt bike and dickheads again. You know, we can't get away from these guys. And he ends up getting one of the dirt bikes from one of these dickheads, and he's riding, and he gets Nicola. She's on the back, and all of a sudden it's like a game of chicken. And he gets Nicola off, and he's riding down the road, and he ends up standing on the seat as the dirt bike's going down the road, and he's firing his gun at it. You know, it's just
in a way that doesn't make sense for how dirt bikes operate.
It makes absolutely no sense. Whatever. And then there's another angle, and all of a sudden he's shooting. He's still standing on the bike. Like, he would have had to do a 180 and all this other extra shit. He never gets back on the bike to turn it around. He's just standing on it with a close up on his face. Just, if he had 2 guns, that would be appropriate. He only had 1 now, and he's just plugging away at these guys. Pinpoint accuracy. Good times.
So I have a feeling sound design is going to come around as a negative for this movie. But one thing that I think is truly amazing about this film is there's almost no sound effects in this film. So what that leaves you with is primarily this lead actor, whatever his name is, Jason or whatever. Jimmy. He primarily makes all the sound effects himself, like as he's kicking and stuff. And I'm going to read word for word what I wrote. This bar fight sounds like the angriest gay sex I've ever seen, and it's totally saving the movie. And that's because there is a scene, it's probably about halfway through the movie, because I also wrote, fight scene is about 40 minutes in, and it's fine because of such bad sound design, but it's just so I mean, the fight itself that happens in there, at least something's finally happening in the movie. Not sure how or why we got to this point, but here we are. But just the like noises that are coming out of these guys as they're getting thrown around on pool tables and they're like, you know, kicking each other in the dick and whatever they're doing. Chef's kiss. And again, the rest of this movie might go very counter to this, but ever was a movie that deserved an Oscar for sound design, this is it because of the sound effects in this fight scene. All the way up to whenever they pull a gun and again, I think once because they do fire a gun a couple times in this, I think that's where you get a little bit of sound effects. That's pretty much it.
It's great After Effects, like muzzle flash, because he's not actually shooting anything, but they add the like little explosions.
I like how they have
gun.
one squib at the end of the movie. They only had enough money for one squib.
Yeah.
So.
Don't fuck this up. We've only got one.
Right.
So as the movie progresses and Jimmy does the training with the monk and he kind of, learns these new techniques. I don't even actually know if he learns anything. Oh, he learns the fatal deviation, which I don't ever really, he said the monk tells him to do the fatal deviation. And I don't know how it's any different because he just does a spinning kick, jumping spin kick or something. I don't know what the technical name. He does it multiple times. He knew it before he met the monk. So it kind of culminates in this.
Do the time cop.
Yeah. Do the splits. Oh, wait, you did that. The story kind of culminates in this blood sport-esque training montage and then tournament where there all these like local tough man drunks are drunkenly like flailing their arms at each other, and minutes of footage go by with people just grunting generic looped crowd noise, like rah, 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 just over and over and over again. And because this is the Irish JCVD, like in a JCVD movie, they have multiple cameras set up, and when Van Damme does a kick, they'll just show it from different angles, and that'll be him like it's simulating him kicking him multiple times, but it's really just a different angle. In this movie, they do a loop. They'll like cut the video and then they'll go back a second and they'll play it again like 4 or 5 times to emphasize the impact of it. Amazing. And then there's like two sections of the movie or 2 scenes where they're kind of going through the ranks of the tournament of who's fighting who. And in between Jimmy gets this note. It's just on his like credenza or whatever in his house. And my favorite part is it's supposed to say lose or else, but they misspelled lose to loose. And nobody in the entire production caught that loose or else. And I was in awe. I'm like, this is a classic. This is a movie for the ages as soon as I saw that.
I mean, I would agree with that statement, but I think this is a good point to pivot to some things that might not have worked so well in this movie. So I'll go ahead and lead us off with that because I know there's some sort of revenge story going on here. I know there's also some sort of local gang / maybe drug dealing. I think someone does cocaine at one point story going on. How those two, I mean, I know at the apex of it, what the big like plot point is to kind of link the two together because of the last 5 seconds of the movie that I read in our third-party review. But as far as what this story is, and I'm saying this like like how we're getting from scene to scene or montage to montage, I have no idea what the fuck happened in this movie. I know there's a bunch of fights, a bunch of kicking. I know Jeff Speakman has a video on YouTube called The Fatal Deviation, which apparently is just some kung fu video. It's not. I was really hoping it would be just him talking about this movie, and it's not. It's like a training video.
Or a total remake of the movie that Jeff Speakman did.
Or, well,
that would be great.
It's like 3 minutes, so it might as well be.
Hey, maybe it is.
That's kind of, so there's other things to complain about too, but that's kind of my biggest like negative with this movie is I still don't really know what the fuck happened in this movie other than fight scenes and montages. And like I said, the spoiler that I already mentioned to lead us off here, the storytelling in this is laughable at best.
Yeah, it's not great. Like I can tell you that he comes back to town. He wants to find out who killed his dad. He gets involved with Nicole, who is previously going out with Mikey, who is the son of Don Potato. And
who? Oh, Don Potato.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Don Potato. So there's the whole thing. And then Don Potato wants Jimmy to work for him, and he decides like, you've got too many men working for you, and I don't like bullies, because he was bullied as a kid, which is part of a montage / flashback whole thing. And I think it ends up being that Mikey, the son, the guy that was doing the coke, wants to get with Nicola, and she is done with him. And Don Potato just wants this kid dead because he's causing problems in the drug game or whatever. I mean, the 10 people in town that live in town, and the 3 people that do drugs are like, he's breaking up the whole thing. The only thing that I have as a dislike, and this movie is so charming that even as this is a dislike to me, is such a mild dislike. It's almost like a like at this point, because I've watching the movie, it's turned me. Like initially I was like, oh my God, this is going to be torturous. Number one, 99% of the actors, quote unquote, in this movie are clearly not actors. So I think that adds a lot of charm to it, because all these people are just townspeople, or, at the end of the movie, after the credits, quote unquote, there's another montage that shows like behind the scenes and how they did some of the scenes and everything.
Oh, the B-roll.
Yeah. And or
like when he kicked the guy over the little ledge, and you're just like, yeah,
and he's like,
actually got hurt.
That's the only time I'm doing this. I'm not doing this again. This movie, they have so many uses and incorrect uses of camera angles. It's insane. Like one shot, the actor, the person talking will be looking straight at the camera, and then they'll cut to the other guy and they'll cut back to him. It'll be like a different angle that's like disorienting, because it seems like the camera just starts circling everybody because they just set the shot up however they want to. The next shot will be like the back of a person talking, and then the next one will be like the side of their head. It's just everywhere. And some of the shots just linger, like after they're done talking, they just kind of sit there and stare blankly at the camera. Like, I think you're supposed to cut the movie here. That's really my only complaint.
No, we gotta pad that runtime. So.
We got to get to that hour and 16 minute runtime somehow, even though we're going to say it's an hour and 30. I think this movie's super charming. I don't have a whole lot of dislikes. I just feel like it's a whole package.
I mean, I feel like it's worth stating to those, if someone's going to watch this, hearing this, if you're not familiar with the whole shot on shitio subgenre of shit, this movie personifies it. Like it looks like garbage. It sounds like garbage. The lighting is all done in broad daylight, except for the Spirit Halloween pit fight Kumite thing, where it's like,
I'm glad you brought up Kumite.
It's lit with like 5 flat. Oh, I had to. It's clearly like there's so many JCVD references in this, just over and over again, that if it's not referencing a Kumite, I don't know what it's doing. But it's worth noting that, because although I think everyone in this conversation is fine with some shot on shitio fun, I think there's plenty of people that would see the opening credits and be like, oh no, fuck this, because you're very much so in like probably Windows 95 DOS, like, literally watching them type like fatal backspace deviation, as they like put the credits on.
Oh wait, yeah. Oh no, that's right.
Yeah, it's pretty bare bones with that, and I won't say for me that's necessarily. I mean, I'm the one who suggested this movie because I stumbled on it looking at something else. So I mean, I can't be that surprised by this. But to the uninitiated or anyone who's listening to this that thinks Irish JCVD, that sounds pretty funny, I might want to watch that. I think it's fair to point out, like, just be prepared that you're not going to be able to hear or see much of fucking anything in this movie. Like, it is shot like some kids stole their grandpa's video camera back in 1998, and this is the end result.
I would counter you on one thing. I think, other than the sound effects,
you're going to say that they didn't have the Casio keyboard from Black Devil Doll from Hell, because I felt like that was the only thing this missed.
No, I would say like the sound in general, like the dialogue sound is actually not bad.
I disagree.
I feel like once you can get past the accents, if you're cool with the accents, you can pretty much figure out what they're saying. They're not, and not that the accent is the reason you can't figure it out, just the sound quality isn't always the best. But I feel like it's pretty on par with other kind of shot on shitio stuff that we watched. I don't think it's that bad.
Okay, I would agree with that. I'm just saying it's not good.
Oh,
that's all.
I mean, it's not.
So it's on par with the stuff like this.
Yeah.
But if you want to hear dialogue, this isn't the movie for it. So,
yeah. I disagree.
One, there's not a lot of it there to begin with.
Yes, that's true. You're not missing all that much.
So
I disagree, but
right.
We can agree to disagree.
Yeah, occasionally. Do we want to talk about the old man that's naked in the bathtub for no apparent reason?
No,
or do we want to just kind of start
push
wrapping
people
up?
towards the YouTube version of this movie, and you can see the guy with his dinger hanging out for whatever reason.
I mean, I couldn't see his dinger, but I just assumed that was the camera quality. So let's go ahead and fire up the grill and put that dinger, take it out of the bathtub and put it on the grill.
Then you're in for a big treat, bro, because it's hot dog time.
I feel like you're going to glow about this one a little bit, so I'm going to lead us off. I will say, for me, this movie is a solid half hot dog. I stumbled on this and I saw the words Irish Kung Fu movie or first Irish Kung Fu movie, and I was instantly sold off of that. And based off of that, I'm content with what I got. The movie is, you mentioned the word charming, and that's probably a good word to politely talk about this movie. It's got a little bit of charm. You could tell, I don't want to go as far to say this is a passion project, but I don't know what else to call it.
A labor of love.
I mean, at the heart of it, this is dumb fun. It's got enough things in it that will make you laugh. It's really not that long. It's got enough good and bad that will make you laugh. Don't go into it expecting it to reinvent the wheel, but you could do a hell of a lot worse, especially if you're comparing it to the shot on Shitio category. So it's a half hot dog. If you got an hour and 15 minutes to kill, I could think of worse things to do.
I wanted to ask you before I hit the sound here. The guy in the bathtub. So he gets into a bathtub and there's a fire underneath it. I just expected that he was going to burn the shit out of his ass when he got out of that, or when he got into the tub.
I was kind of hoping for it.
I would just expect that he
hoping
would.
for it.
It's crazy.
Whose hot dog is this, huh? Is it yours?
To be clear, this is an Irish, low-budget, kung fu action movie. I think it's a bunch of fun, but you have to know going into this, and I think you really just mentioned that it's just a fun kind of dumb. If you're expecting something even a fraction of the look or the budget or the acting of like a barrel scraping version of the worst Seagal or JCVD film, you're going to be disappointed. It's not, it's like, go into this super low expectations, go into it no expectations, just expect, or just like let the charm wash over you. The story is paper thin. They reveal what happens to Jimmy's dad in the first 15 minutes of the movie, but they just ride it to the very bitter end, and the ride to get there is just fun as hell. For me, this is a full hot dog, just on the grounds of how charming, how absurd, how just silly, everything. Like the whole package is just, I could sit, it's an hour and 16 minutes. You can spend an hour and 16 minutes, I don't know, picking your nose or something and come out with less results than from this movie. So, that's like 2 episodes of an hour-long network TV show. You can spare an hour and 16 minutes to watch this just charming, fun kung fu movie. You said that this was the second? What's the next one?
I don't know. I heard there was a sequel to this, which if there is, we need to cover that like next week. But I don't know. I one of the things I was watching leading up to it said that this is one of 2. So I don't know what the second. We should just do James P. Bennett November for the rest of the month and just watch all this shit.
I was thinking we should do Albert Pune November, since he's got all the good movies.
All right. Before we get too sidetracked into theme months, halfway into the fucking month, let's get our question of the week out of the way for this week. And could really ask a question in regard to this movie, because according to IMDb, only 650 people have seen it. So we went a little more generic this week. Well, I'm going to go with 650 people have seen it, and they're all on IMDb.
652.
So our question of the week this week is, if you could introduce someone to 80s or 90s action movies with just one film, what would your film of choice be? I'm going to tell you right now, the answer is Fatal Deviation, but other people have chimed in.
Nowhere to go but up.
We'll start over. Yeah. Well, depending on how you look at it. You still get to answer, so you can double down on Fatal Deviation at the end of this if you want.
All right.
Over on Instagram, our friends over at You Can Eat That Crust, Greg chimed in and said either Predator or Willow, which I'm really confused by this. Predator I get, and that will come up again. Willow? The Warwick Davis movie where he's like a dwarf or something? Like, well, I guess he's always.
He's always. Val Kilmer.
Really? Willow? Yeah, I didn't even remember Val Kilmer being in it, but okay.
Doesn't Greg have like a hard-on for Willow?
You know what? At this point, yes, he does. We're going to just go ahead and say, yes, he does. So,
I'll probably
Greg,
cut that.
Still over on Instagram, Mike the Movie Misfit says, that's tough. I think it would have to be a Schwarzenegger movie at least. Doesn't give an answer, but we'll go with that. Piggybacking on that, apparently, Sam over at To Be or Not To Be Movies says Commando. Very good choice. And then the Horror Cat Dad says hands down Commando or Predator. Mentioned Predator will come up. And last on Instagram is Bruce88 says Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's a classic. Do you think Raiders of the Lost Ark is an action movie or an adventure movie? I think of it as an adventure movie.
I would peg it more as an adventure movie. It has action elements to it, but I wouldn't say it's straight up an action movie. No.
I think the majority of movies have action elements to them, though. At least somewhere.
What about The Notebook?
Never seen it. It sounds pretty exciting when they open up The Notebook, though.
That's the action right there.
That's it. So over on Threads, our friend Justin over at Pop Culture Reflections Podcast says 80s would be First Blood is a great choice, and the 90s would be Point Break, obviously, because it's the greatest action drama ever made. And then I thought this said Muscle Bruckles, but it says Museful Buckles, so I was way off. It says Die Hard with Predator as a backup option. Going for all the big ones. And then last over on, what is this, Blue Sky, our friend Boomer over at Woods Podcast 1, Podcast in the Woods. You can check them out as well. It says you'll probably get this one at least 100 times, but the ultimate 80s action film is Aliens. It's fantastic creature work, so many quotable lines, badass heroine, and so much ass kicking. There should be a donkey on the poster. Boomer, you're wrong. You're the only person who answered that, but we didn't get a lot of answers this week. I already gave my answer. My answer is Fatal Deviation, because if you can't handle Fatal Deviation, you don't deserve Commando. Sean, how about you? What do you think? What is the ideal movie to introduce someone to 80s and 90s action?
All right, so hear me out. If you are saying
Fatal Deviation,
if you're saying introduce someone, that means they have no notion, like they don't have a movie that they're like, oh, I want to get. I think Lethal Weapon is a great introduction to this type of movie. Hear me out. It's a low barrier to entry, right? You've got buddy cop. Mm-hmm. It's got elements of comedy. It's got, the interplay between the characters. There's action. It's not overly graphic. There's not like a lot of shit that happens. That's at least the first one. And it's got a good story. Like you get backstory about Riggs and Murtaugh. You know what they're all about. They get paired together. It's just fun. It's a fun movie. I would have said Commando. Commando would be one that I would say, like, you've never seen this? Go see this. Go see Commando.
Commando's probably my real answer, but Fatal Deviation's more fun to say right now.
I feel like if it's an introduction, Commando is a little bit more graphic than Lethal Weapon. It's got a little bit more gore, like the guy getting his arm cut off.
Sure.
My friend, he's dead tired. Sully gets dropped off the cliff face onto his head. It's got some hyper violence, and I think that might turn some people off who you got to warm them up. You got to do some foreplay a little bit. I feel like Commando's a little bit too hardcore. Predator, I think Predator, I can't get behind Predator. That is, like, I'm not the biggest Predator fan, the original Predator. It's too much. Like, I think that's a little bit too much. It has, like, I think it has pacing problems personally.
I love Predator, and I mean, I can see where you're coming from with that. That's an argument for a different episode, but I love Predator. I think it's a damn near perfect movie. That said, it has action elements, but I think it's a science fiction movie first, a horror movie second, and an action movie third.
I just think if you say introduce somebody, you can't jump into the deep end with, like, Predator. Aliens is great. I like Aliens as an answer too. I really like Aliens, but that's like sci-fi primarily, and then I think action.
Yep.
Yeah,
and then probably horror after that. Like, it's same. It's basically the same conversation or same.
Yeah, you're just splitting different hairs, basically.
Talking point. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. But no, if I was being, like, just upfront, like, real answer, I'd probably say Commando. And I get what you're saying about the point of entry, violence, blah, blah, blah. But there's few movies that I have as much fun with as I do when I put Commando on. So violence and all that aside, like, it's not like not that this is a good comparison, but like it's not like Terrifier violence where it's like really intense and like on top
True.
of like
Yeah.
the screen the whole time.
I mean,
It's
Bill
very,
Duke
like-
gets thrown through a wall and a table leg impales his heart. It's not
That's
Terrifier level, but you know, it's
Whatever.
pretty violent.
It's pretty violent, but it's my point is that would be my answer if I was giving a like legitimate answer, but Fatal Deviation is just got so much more kicking, so much more.
It's just got a
Dungeons,
je ne sais pas,
so-
you know, about it, you know?
Yeah, it's got at least one more naked guy in a bathtub than Commando. I don't remember anyone being naked in Commando. So
The lady in the bed when Bill Duke gets thrown through the
that's
wall.
true.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay. All right. Well, you know what? Maybe next week we'll talk about another movie with Bill Duke. We haven't done that in a minute. So actually, have we
I was
done that
gonna
at
say,
all
have we
on this?
ever talked about Bill Duke on this show?
There's got to be a movie we've talked about with him in it.
I don't know.
Hmm.
Homework
All right,
for
well,
the
someone
audience.
let us know.
What's a movie that we
Yeah,
talked about
someone
with Bill
let
Duke?
us know. All right. On this show, not one where
Right,
one of
correct.
us has been a guest.
Correct.
So on this show, because I know I talked about Predator on You Gonna Eat That Crust, and he's definitely in that. But anyway, that's all we got for this week. In the meantime, if you'd like, we would appreciate you could give us a follow on all the social medias that are relevant. We're at Dewey Pod Monster, with the exception of Blue Sky, where you can find us at, I was going to say Internal Bleeding, which is one of us, but you can find us at crap.town. I just totally threw myself out. We would be very happy if you went over to yourunpodcast.com and checked out all the other great shows on the You Run Podcast Network. We enjoy being part of this network and would like to send you there to listen to some more stuff. You can go to our site, which is crap.town. You can leave us feedback there. You can tell us what movies with Bill Duke in them that we've talked about right through there. There's an option to leave us feedback. Last and certainly not least, wherever you're listening to this, whether it's, you know, on Spotify or YouTube, whatever the case is, wherever you find this, if you could take a minute to leave us some feedback, give us a rating on the show, share it, whatever you prefer. That helps us a lot, helps us get more shit going on here, and might even help us find the next fatal deviation that one of us can force upon the other. Sean, what am I forgetting about here?
Well, I was going to say, if you want your answer to the question of the week read on this here show, you got to answer the question of the week, and you got to go to the places on social media that John cares about, which are all the places. You can find them at Dewey Pod Monster. You can find them on Blue Sky at crap.town. You can find me at Blue Sky at internalbleeding.crap.town. I post little pictures. I post little clips of movies that I think are funny. You can follow me, in 6 months from now when I post something, you'll be like, oh yeah, I follow that guy. Who is he again? Oh, he's the other guy. Who's the other guy? I don't know, some fucking guy. The other thing I was going to say, if you want to help out the show, everything we talked about on this show is going to be linked in the show notes. If you go on your podcast platform of choice, you can find the show notes. There's links. Most of that stuff is free. There's no other show in the universe that's posting all this stuff, or links at least, posting links to all this stuff that's free. The stuff that isn't free, we post on Amazon. Usually it says Amazon afterwards. If you click that little link, it takes you to Amazon. If you buy something, you don't even have to buy the thing we're talking about. But if you click on the link and you buy something else on Amazon, you buy some lube, you buy, I don't know, some peas or something, maybe some frozen carrots that you get from Whole Foods,
Nunchucks.
comes to your house. You know what? We get a small cut of that. That helps the show. That can help us maybe get off Spotify. Who knows? And yeah, you can do that directly from the show notes. Again, no other show in the universe does that. So why don't you trust us for, I don't know, something. John, back to you.
That's it. That's all we got. Thanks for hanging out with us and talking about Fatal Deviation. We'll be back next week talking about some other movie that is not Fatal Deviation. Probably not as good, but we're going to do it anyway. Swell up, Butthorns. Have a good week. Cheers.
It's a high bar.
Bird season's over, Butthorn.
Blah, blah, blah.